Let me ask you something real. Have you ever done something in secret, something small, thinking no one would ever find out? A harsh word whispered behind a friend's back, a little lie told to protect your pride, a moment of pleasure that betrayed someone's trust, a hateful thought you carried long after the smile faded from your face. You walked away from it. No one saw. No one punished you, but something inside you bent just slightly. A shift, a twist in the heart, a crookedness that no one else could see but you could feel. The Buddha saw it too. And in a quiet sermon, spoken over 2,500 years ago, he gave it a name: the path of the crooked, the way of the sneaky ones. Not criminals, not monsters, just ordinary people, people like us, who choose to live in secret, in shadow, thinking karma is blind. But karma is never blind. It follows the mind like a shadow follows the body. And in this story, you'll see how it leads not just to suffering in this life, but to rebirth in dark, crawling places we don't even realize we're heading toward, until it's too late. A hidden world, where crooked karma leads close your eyes. Picture a dim forest floor, roots tangled like lies, holes burrowed into the ground. Things move in the dark, not in evil, but in fear. Snakes slither when footsteps come, rats scatter into cracks, cats hide beneath floorboards, scorpions sting, then vanish. These are not just animals. In the Buddha's teaching, they are symbols, realms of rebirth, for those who lived sneaky, hidden lives. He called it the crooked rebirth, the karmic fruit of those who deceive, who harm, to act one way in the light but another in the dark. They are reborn into lives of hiding, because they hid from truth in their human lives. And now, the universe hides them. The 10 acts that twist the soul. In the Sappurisa Sutta, the Buddha named 10 acts, doorways to this crooked path. They seem small at first, ordinary, even forgivable, but together, they bend the spine of the soul. Through the body: 3, killing, especially in cold blood or in silence. Stealing not just money, but time, trust, dignity. Sexual misconduct, betrayal cloaked in sweetness. Harm disguised as love. Through speech: 4, lying to protect yourself at someone else's expense. 5, sowing division, whispers that tear people apart. 6, harsh speech, words that cut like blades. 7, idle chatter, time-wasting noise that numbs the spirit. Through the mind: 3, 8, covetousness, wanting what isn't yours and justifying it. 9, ill will, quiet hatred that fed us. 10, wrong view, denying karma, denying truth, denying consequence. Each act alone may seem minor, but they gather, they pile up, life after life, and like a tree bending in wind, the soul begins to lean, until one day, it grows crooked, the illusion of escape. You see, most people don't believe in karma. Not really. They believe in punishment from others, from the law, from society. But karma is silent. It doesn't chase you with sirens. It doesn't shame you in public. It waits. It follows you across lifetimes. It reconfigures your future. And when it strikes, it doesn't look like lightning. It looks like the life you wake up into. Born in fear. Born in confusion. Born as something that crawls beneath the floorboards, dodging light. You won't remember why, but your soul will know. Why the Buddha told this story? Because he didn't want to scare you. He wanted to wake you, to help you see that life isn't measured by applause, but by integrity. That your next birth isn't decided by fame or failure, but by truthfulness. That every secret act writes a line in the book of your rebirth. And if those lines are full of lies and harm, you don't need to wait for Judgment Day. You're already walking toward your own sentence. A life in hiding. A life of fear. A life shaped by what you didn't think mattered. A modern story of a crooked life. Let me tell you about Min, a man I once met. He was successful, respected, even generous. But at night, he drank, he cheated, he lied. He always said, "It doesn't matter, no one knows." Until one day, his body broke down. A stroke. Half his face fell. He couldn't speak properly. In that silence, something in him shattered. And through tears he whispered to me, "I didn't live straight. I lived twisted." I didn't judge him. I held his hand, and I saw in his eyes, not just regret, but the terror of what comes next. That terror is real, but so is the path out, the way back, from crooked to straight. That's what part 2 will be about, because the Buddha didn't stop with a warning. He offered a way home, a way to straighten your life, your mind, your future, a way to stop hiding and start living in the light. We'll walk through that next, together. There's a way back, from darkness, from crookedness, from the quiet shame we carry for things we once thought no one saw. The Buddha never left us in despair. He warned, yes, but he also showed the path of beauty, of radiance, of freedom, not for saints, not for monks only, for you, for me, for anyone willing to walk it honestly. This is the story of that path, the straight path, and it begins, not in the sky, but in the smallest moment of truth. What does it mean to be straight? In the Sappurisa Sutta, the Buddha contrasts two kinds of beings: those who live sneaky lives, hiding, deceiving, twisting their actions to fit desires, and those who live open lives, straight, clear, fearless in their goodness. Straight, in this teaching, means something deeper than moral behavior. It means clean in heart, aligned in body, speech, and mind, living in such a way that you do not need to look over your shoulder. It means you do what you say what you mean, and what you mean is kindness, truth, and care. The Buddha said such a person, when they die, glows, not metaphorically, but karmically. They rise, reborn in bright realms, or into families of wealth, love, and clarity, not as a reward, but as a natural result of being what is needed in a world that suffers. The 10 actions that straighten the soul. Just as crookedness has 10 roots, so does uprightness, but these are not chains, they are wings. Through the body. 3. No killing you. Protect life, even the smallest ant, even the bird on the wire, even the inner peace of a stranger. No stealing. You take only what is freely given, and you give back tenfold in kindness. No sexual misconduct. You honor the sacred in love. You protect trust. You do not break what others depend on. Through speech. 4. No lying. You speak truth, even when it's hard, even when silence would be easier. No divisive speech. You heal rifts. You speak in ways that bring people back together. No harsh speech. You don't use words as weapons. You use them as bomb. No idle chatter. You speak with purpose. You value silence. You use words to build, not just to fill the air. Through the mind. 3. No covetousness. You rejoice when others succeed. Their joy is your joy. No ill will. You wish well for everyone, even those who hurt you. You choose compassion over revenge. Right view. You believe in karma. You believe in rebirth. You believe that actions have consequences, and that the path of the Dharma leads to awakening. What happens to one who lives this way? The Buddha didn't make vague promises. He spoke clearly. They are reborn in heavenly realms, surrounded by beauty, light, and joy, or they return to the human world in homes of abundance, wisdom, and respect. They attract good friends, peaceful surroundings, and a mind that is naturally inclined to Dharma. They experience confidence at death, no fear, no regrets, just clarity. Because their mind is not hiding, it stands tall like a tree that grew straight toward the sun. But isn't that just rebirth? What about freedom? Yes, this story is still within samsara, within the cycle of birth and death. But living straight isn't just about future lives, it's about clarity in this one. When you live purely, you sleep deeper, you speak with weight, you walk into rooms with presence, you look into your own eyes without flinching, and eventually, you practice meditation not to escape your karma, but to burn it, to transform it, to step off the wheel altogether. That's the deeper gift of this straight path. It leads not just to good rebirth, it leads to liberation. The story of the young girl and the old monk. In a small village in ancient India, there lived a girl named Jiva. She was poor. She swept floors, washed clothes, lived simply, but she lived straight. She told no lies. She harmed no one. She loved deeply and gave freely. One day, a wandering monk, old, blind, sick, stumbled into her village. Everyone else turned away, but Jiva took him in. She washed his feet, fed him, sat beside him in silence for days. When he died, she buried him with her own hands. She wept, not from loss, but from love. That night, her dreams were filled with light, and when she died years later, she was reborn, not in riches, not in heaven, but in a family of wisdom, where she heard the Dharma from birth and attained arahant by age 16. Why? Because she lived straight, even when no one was watching, especially when no one was watching. Is it too late? Maybe you're wondering that right now. Maybe you've lied. Maybe you've hurt others. Maybe you've built a crooked life and don't know how to straighten it anymore. But here's the truth. It's never too late. The moment you stop hiding, the moment you say, no more lies, no more harm, from this breath forward, I walk clean, that moment bends your karma. The tree may have grown crooked for years, but if the root turns toward light now, even in old age, it will bloom in the direction of peace. The Buddha saw it happen, again and again. He told stories of murderers who became monks, of prostitutes who attained enlightenment, of kings who gave up war and found stillness. So don't ask if you're too far gone. Ask, what's my next breath? What's my next act? Can I live straight today? Because that's where it begins. What's next? So now we've seen both sides. The path of secrecy, crooked karma, fearful rebirth. The path of honesty, upright living, radiant rebirth. But how do we recognize the difference in real life? How do we catch the crookedness before it bends us? How do we train the heart to choose the light, not just once, but again and again? That's what we'll explore in part 3, the hidden seeds of karma, how every thought shapes your future. There's something most people get wrong about karma. They think it starts with action, with a lie told, a theft committed, a hand raised, a promise broken. But the Buddha said something far more unsettling, and far more beautiful. Satanja bhikkhave kamma vadme. It is volition, intention, that I call karma, not the action, the moment before, the seed in the mind, the whisper of want, the flicker of hate, the silent wish that something, someone, would go away, or come closer, or simply not exist. That's where karma begins. And that means the future doesn't start in your hands, it starts in your heart. The place no one sees. Imagine this. A man walks through a town. He smiles, he greets his neighbors, he gives money to the temple. People love him, but inside, he resents everyone. He's jealous of his brother. He fantasizes about hurting those who mocked him. He grinds his teeth every night in silent rage. On the outside upright, on the inside crooked. That man may escape punishment, he may win applause, he may fool the world. But karma isn't fooled, because karma doesn't listen to what you say, it listens to what you want. Every thought leaves a trail. Think of your mind as a field. Every thought you think is a seed you plant. Some seeds are sharp. I wish she would fail. They don't deserve to be happy. If I had a chance, I'd take it, no matter what. Others are soft. May he be free from pain. I'm grateful for what I have. Even if they don't love me, I hope they're okay. Now here's the truth. The Buddha taught, every seed sprouts. Some in this life, some in the next. You can't fake your garden. The flowers that bloom, or the thorns that tangle your feet, all come from you. But I only thought it, I didn't do it. Yes, and the Buddha was clear. There's a difference between thinking harm and acting on it. But make no mistake, the thought still bends the mind. The first time you wish someone ill, it feels shocking. The 10th time, it feels natural. The mind learns, it grooves its own patterns. And eventually, a crooked thought becomes a crooked world. You start seeing others through that lens. You attract people who match that darkness. You live in a reality shaped by your own fears and cravings. That's karma, not from outside, but from within. The story of two brothers in the time of the Buddha. There were two brothers, Nanda and Nagu. Both were merchants, both were rich, both were seen as generous men. But one day, they visited a monastery and heard a sermon on karma. Nagu, the younger, was shaken. That night, he sat alone and admitted to himself, I smile in public, but I envy my brother's wealth. I speak kindly, but in my heart I'm angry. I've never stolen anything, but I dream of taking what isn't mine. He wept, he prayed, and the next day he gave away half his fortune to the poor, not for show, but for release. Nanda laughed at him. You're a fool, he said. You think thoughts matter. Look at you, throwing away gold for ghosts. Years passed. Nanda grew richer, but crueler, suspicious, paranoid. He died choking in his sleep. Nagu lived simply, joyfully. He died peacefully, surrounded by monks. The Buddha later revealed, one was reborn as a hungry ghost, the other in the realm of the devas. Why? Because of what they carried inside. So how do we tend the garden? That's the real question, isn't it? If every thought is a seed, how do we choose better ones? How do we stop the weeds before they grow? The Buddha gave us tools, not magic, not dogma, but practices to notice, to purify, and to plant with wisdom. Here are 3 of them. 1. Mindfulness. Sati, the power to see the seed before it roots. Every time you feel anger rise, notice it. Don't feed it. Every time you crave what isn't yours, observe it. Don't grab it. Don't say, I shouldn't feel this. Say, here is anger, here is greed, and let it pass, because what you don't water doesn't grow. Point 2. Loving kindness, metta, the antidote to hatred. Each morning, try this. May I be well, may you be well, may all beings be free from suffering. Even if you don't feel it, say it, not for the world, for your own mind, so it learns to soften, to straighten, to bloom. 3. Right view, samadhi, the compass beneath it all. Remind yourself, karma is real. Actions have fruits. This life matters. What I think becomes what I am, not as fear, but as freedom. Because once you believe in consequence, you stop playing games with your soul. The silent rebirth of a new life. You don't need to wait for death to be reborn. You can start now, with one true thought, one kind word, one small decision not to harm. And like a tree turning toward sunlight, your life will bend quietly, surely, toward peace. That's karma. Not punishment, but possibility. There's a question most people never ask, not out loud, anyway. Not in temples, not in Dharma talks, but in quiet moments. Maybe when they're alone, maybe watching a cat slink through an alley, or seeing a snake vanish into the grass. The question comes like a whisper, could I come back as that? The Buddha's answer, yes, but not as punishment, not from a god, not even from sin. You come back that way because of how you lived, because of how you thought, because in many ways, you already were that. This is not a story about animals, it's a story about what we become. When we stop living like humans, the realm of beasts, not just a place, but a pattern in the Sappurisa Sutta and other teachings the Buddha described. The animal realm is one of the 4 lower realms. Hell-hungry ghosts, animals, demons, asuras among them. The animal realm is especially subtle, because it hides in plain sight, because we often love animals. We admire their beauty, their instincts, their freedom, but the Buddha warned, don't romanticize their world. Most animals live in fear. They live by instinct. They cannot choose virtue. They suffer, kill, run, hide, and most importantly, they forget. They forget who they were. They forget the Dharma. They forget the chance they had when they were human, to walk the path of awakening. What makes an animal rebirth? It's not about fur, or feathers, or fangs. It's about karma, it's about mind. The Buddha taught that those who indulge in deceit, lust, anger, and ignorance, without remorse or reflection, begin to think like animals, and over time, the mind takes on that form. It becomes sneaky like a snake, greedy like a rat, predatory like a cat, stinging like a scorpion, cowardly like a rabbit, oblivious like livestock. Eventually, that karma ripns.n in the next life, or the next, the form, matches the function. You don't just act like a snake, you become one. A story. The monk who came back in a remote forest monastery. A young monk named Tissa once lived. He was strict, disciplined, outwardly perfect, but inside, he harbored anger. He judged the other monks. He fantasized about punishing wrongdoers. He hid his hatred behind chants and robes. He died suddenly in meditation, and within days, another monk reported seeing a large snake curled beneath the Bodhi tree. Eyes, watching, not attacking, but not leaving, the Buddha was told. He nodded sadly. Tissa has been reborn as a snake. He was diligent in body, but crooked in mind. He must wait now, until his karma softens. Years passed. The monks chanted loving kindness every evening, even for the snake. And one morning, it was gone. Gone from the tree, gone from the forest, gone, the Buddha said, from the realm of beasts. Why? Because even as a snake, Tissa heard kindness. And it awoke something in him. The inner animal. How it lives in us now. We don't need to die to visit the animal realm. Sometimes we're already in it. When we lie without guilt, when we crave without pause, when we lash out without care, when we manipulate, hide, stalk, devour. That's not bad behavior. That's animal karma unfolding. The difference, as humans, we can still see it. We can still change. From beast to being, the way back. The Buddha gave us tools to prevent and escape animal rebirth. But first he asked for honesty, not guilt, not shame, just this. Am I living like a human, or am I living like an animal with a human face? If the answer scares you, good. That fear is sad out faith, conscience, the trembling heart that still wants to be free. The practices that reverse animal karma restraint, sklur. Every time you say no to instinct, to anger, lust, revenge, you reclaim your humanity. Compassion, courage, wish well, even to those who hurt you, especially them. Be the opposite of the predator. Mindfulness sati, watch your own mind, watch the shadows. Don't let the beast act without your knowing right view. Samdithi, understand this life is rare, precious, a blink in which you can choose freedom, remorse, not shame. The Buddha never asked for self-hatred. He asked for recognition and then practice. The danger of forgetting the most terrifying thing about the animal realm. It's not the pain, it's the forgetting of Dharma, the forgetting of choice, the forgetting of what it meant to sit, breathe, listen, change. That's why this teaching is urgent, not to scare you, but to wake you up before you forget. There's a saying you've probably heard before: what people don't know can't hurt them. But the Buddha would say, what you hide shapes what you become. This is a story about secrets, not the kind whispered between friends, but the ones you keep from yourself, the ones you bury beneath laughter, beneath success, beneath layers of excuses, until one day you wake up and don't recognize the person in the mirror. That's karma too, not just in what you do, but in what you hide. LNLT, the mind that hides. In the original Pali, the word LNLT, a Vietnamese translation, points to something sneaky, covert, underhanded. It's the mind that justifies wrongdoing, excuses small cruelties, deflects blame, smiles while plotting, pretends to be good while choosing harm. The Buddha taught that this kind of mind bends itself, ... not only morally, but spiritually, because it hides not just from others, but from reality. And when you live in unreality, you drift further and further from the Dharma. The layers of a lie. When you lie once, you feel it, your heart beats faster, you look over your shoulder, you worry someone will find out. But if you lie again and again and again, something dangerous happens. You start believing it, you rewrite memory, you build a personality on falsehood. You even offer spiritual teachings while hiding deep corruption inside. And the most terrifying part, you don't see it anymore, not because it's invisible, but because you won't look. That's the karma of secrecy. It blinds the one who keeps the secret. The story of the fake sage. There was once a monk, revered, praised, honored by kings. He gave brilliant talks, he performed miracles, he gathered disciples, but in private, he broke every precept. He stole from donors, he seduced students, he drank and lied and threatened. No one knew, not at first, until one day, a child caught him in the act. A child too innocent to lie. She told the truth, and the kingdom fell silent. The monk was exiled. He died in disgrace, and the Buddha said simply, he wore robes of gold, but inside he hid a scorpion. Why we hide? Not because we're evil, but because we're afraid. Afraid of judgment, afraid of being unloved, afraid of facing the truth of what we've done. So we wear masks. We become actors in our own lives, and after enough performances, we forget who we were before the act began. The Buddha didn't condemn this, he understood it, but he offered a path beyond it. Living in the open, the power of honesty, the opposite of LNLT, is not confession, it's not punishment, it's openness. The Buddha encouraged his disciples to live in such a way that nothing had to be hidden. Every action was visible, every word was clean, every thought was seen and transformed. He taught them to speak honestly to admit faults, to take joy in transparency, because when you live like that, there's nothing for karma to latch onto. You move through the world like wind, touching all, harming none. Practices to uproot the karma of secrecy. Daily reflection. Patapikana, ask yourself each night, what did I hide today? What did I pretend not to know? Where did I trade truth for comfort? Write it down, sit with it, don't run. Spiritual friendship, kaliak, a mitot. Find one person you can be completely honest with, not to confess but to be seen. We heal in the light of loving truth. Speak the small truths, tell the truth when it's uncomfortable, when it's awkward, when silence would be easier. Every time you do, the karma of secrecy weakens. Practice anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing. Inhale, I see the truth. Exhale, I let go of hiding. Let the breath become your clearing wind. Why it matters? Because the longer you hide, the more twisted your path becomes. And when death comes, and it will come, there will be no time to straighten what was bent. But if you live now, in the open, if you speak with clarity, if you walk with transparency, then when your final breath comes, you won't be afraid, because you will have nothing left to fear. A quiet rebirther is a story the elders tell of a thief who became a monk. He had done terrible things. He had lived in shadow. He had lied to everyone, including himself. But one day, he stood before the Buddha and said, "I don't want to hide anymore." And from that day, he lived simply, honestly, openly. He died in robes, and the Buddha said, he left behind a crooked path, and now he walks among the devils. We like to think that when the time is right, we'll change, that when the kids are grown, when the job calms down, when the body feels better, when the world gets quieter, then we'll practice. Then we'll meditate, then we'll wake up. But the Buddha saw straight through us, not to shame us, but to save us. He saw how the mind hides behind time, how it waits for perfect conditions, how it wraps laziness in logic, and he named them one by one. 8 excuses, 8 doors that look like rest, but open into suffering. The poison of postponement in the Anguttara Nikaya. The Buddha didn't just say laziness is bad, he described how it sounds in our heads. He quoted our own inner voices back to us. And it's startling, because you'll recognize yourself, not as a sinner, but as someone who, like all of us, has delayed their own freedom. Here they are. 1. I haven't started working yet. I should rest first. We say, let me rest before I begin. Once I'm refreshed, I'll sit, I'll study, I'll meditate. But the truth is, rest before work becomes rest instead of work. The Buddha said this is the first form of laziness because it seems innocent, but it delays the very effort that would awaken us. Instead, he taught, if you haven't yet begun, begin now, before distractions come. 2. I've just finished working. I'm too tired. We say, I deserve a break. I've done enough today. But the Buddha knew, this is where the path dies most often, because life will always tire you. If you wait to feel energized, you'll wait forever. Instead, he said, you've already exerted energy, so while the momentum is strong, turn it toward the Dharma. 3. I'm about to travel. Let me rest first. We think, why start now? I won't be able to keep it up while traveling. But the Buddha saw through that. He said, because travel is uncertain, practice now while the moment is yours. Don't assume you'll be safe, or have time, or have silence. The road is not promised. 4. I've just returned from a journey. Let me recover. We say, I need time to settle. Let me rest. I'll meditate tomorrow. But the Buddha taught, when you return, let your first act be spiritual. Re-anchor the heart before distraction returns. Rest can come after the sacred, not instead of it. 5. I haven't eaten enough. I'm too weak. It's a real feeling. Fasting, illness, hunger, we say. I can't focus without food. But the Buddha said, sometimes an empty stomach brings clarity. When the body is light, the mind is sharp. Use that window to go inward. Not always, not forcefully, but wisely. But wisely. 6. I've eaten too much. I'm too full to sit. We laugh at this one, but how often have we said it? The Buddha saw it too. Fullness dulls the mind. But rather than sleep, try walking meditation. Try gentle reflection. Let digestion become a time of contemplation. Even fullness can be fuel if directed wisely. 7. I'm feeling slightly unwell. I should rest. We say, it's just a little sickness. I'll rest today. Practice tomorrow. But the Buddha warned, sickness can worsen. Death can come quickly. Don't wait for perfect health to begin perfecting the mind. And in small illness, sometimes practice becomes more powerful because it's real. Because you see your fragility. 8. I've recovered from illness. I need time to regain strength. This one's dangerous because you tell yourself, I'll practice once I'm strong. But the Buddha reminded us, illness can return. Life is unstable. The fact that you're breathing now means now is the moment. The truth beneath every excuse. All these delays, they come from one root. We think we'll live longer. We think there's time. We think death will give us notice. We think awakening can wait. But the Buddha said, the days and nights are relentlessly passing. How well are you spending your time? From excuse to energy, the 8 reversals. The Buddha didn't just expose the excuses. He gave reversals, mental flips, that turn laziness into motivation. Here they are, side by sighed, "Excuse reversal, I haven't started working yet. This quiet is my chance before things get busy. I just finished work. I've built momentum, now I'll direct it toward the Dharma. I'm about to travel. I might lose time, I'll use what I have now. I just got back, I've returned safely now. I'll show gratitude by practicing. I haven't eaten enough. I'm light, let my mind be light too. I've eaten too much. Let me walk, reflect, digest mindfully. I'm slightly ill. Sickness reminds me of impermanence. I'll use this urgency. I've recovered. I've been given another chance. I won't waste it. Each one becomes a turning point, not later, now. Now. The old man in the candle there was once an old man, near death, who asked to become a monk. People scoffed. He's too old. He won't have time to practice. Why bother now? But the Buddha accepted him, and within 7 days, the man attained Arahantship. Because he didn't wait. He didn't say tomorrow. He saw the flame dimming, and lit it one last time with all his heart. Some say laziness is just a bad habit, a lack of discipline, a modern problem, a personality quirk. But the Buddha saw something far deeper. He saw that laziness, spiritual laziness, isn't new. It isn't even yours. Exactly, it's ancient. It's a habit of samsara, a pattern the mind has carried across lifetimes, a resistance buried in your very bones. And if you've ever sat down to meditate and felt a sudden need to check your phone, stretch, nap, or think about lunch, you've touched it. You've felt the weight of countless past lives tugging you away from awakening. But the good news, if it was built over lifetimes, it can be dismantled. The ancient whisper, in the mind there's a voice you've heard before, though it changes masks. Sometimes it says, "You're too tired. It's not urgent. You've got time. This isn't really for you. Others can awaken. You can't. You'll practice later. You already know enough. One more lifetime won't hurt." This voice is not just laziness. It's Mara, the inner tempter, not a demon outside you, but the part of your mind programmed by countless rebirths to prefer comfort over courage. The weight of past lives. Imagine this. In a past life, you were a merchant, successful, proud, indulgent. You heard the Dharma once. It stirred you, but you said, "Next year, I'll ordain." You died before the rains came, reborn as a scholar, intelligent, curious. You read the scriptures. You debated monks. But you said, "I'll walk the path once I'm married." You died at 50, distracted by wealth, reborn again, this time as a poor farmer. You worked from sunrise to nightfall. You whispered chants while sowing seed. But you said, "I'll meditate when the children are grown." Then a fever and darkness. Each life, the same postponement, until now. This life, a different door. The Buddha said, to be born as a human is rare. To hear the Dharma is rarer still. To feel urgency, rarer yet. So if you're listening to this, if something in you aches for freedom, if the teachings feel familiar, like remembering instead of learning, then this life is different, because that habit, the habit of delay, is starting to crack. How habits cross lifetimes. Modern psychology calls it conditioning. Buddhism calls it sankhara, mental formations. Each time you choose avoidance over awareness, that pattern deepens, and when death comes, the mind looks for a new body that matches its habits. So a restless mind finds a restless womb. A mind addicted to control finds a controlling family. A lazy mind finds another place to avoid effort, and the cycle spins on. Unless you interrupt it now, why effort feels so heavy. Ever wonder why right effort, samaviyuma, feels harder than it should? Why even the idea of meditation feels like lifting a mountain? It's not just your body, it's the inertia of lifetimes. Every time you sit down to practice, you're pushing against an invisible wall of old karma. But every sit weakens that wall. Every breath cracks it, and one day, maybe not today, but one day, it collapses, and the path is clear. The turning point, from habit to intent. Buddha said, what you think and ponder upon becomes the inclination of your mind. That means the past doesn't have to win. You can rewire your future, not by force, but by gentle persistence. Each time you choose practice over comfort, choose silence over noise, choose honesty over hiding, choose awareness over autopilot, you reclaim your power from samsara. You begin to turn the ship. A story of the carpenter's son. Once, during the Buddha's time, there was a young man named Sudatta. He was poor, rough, laughed at monks, but he heard one talk, just one, and it moved something ancient in him. He gave up drinking. He started listening. He sat, awkward and confused, in the back of the Dharma hall. His friends mocked him, but Siddhartha kept coming. He sat through his fidgeting. He cried without knowing why, and one day, while sweeping the monastery floor, he saw the mind clearly just for a moment. The Buddha smiled at him and said, "You are not new to this path. You are remembering, gentle but unshakable. This isn't about pushing. It's about committing, not for an hour, not for a day, but for this whole lifetime. Make this vow quietly. No more delay, no more sleepwalking. Even if I fail 1,000 times, I will return. I will walk. I will finish this path." That vow echoes through samsara, and someday, maybe this life, you will walk free. There's a kind of fire that doesn't burn you, it doesn't consume, it doesn't rage, it doesn't destroy, it warms, it sustains, it liberates. The Buddha called it virya, effort, but not any effort. This was effort born from understanding, not from ego, not from guilt, not from ambition, but from the quiet, powerful realization that this life, this one, is your chance. This chapter is about that fire, the one that never goes out once it's truly lit. What is right effort? Right effort isn't just try harder. It's not perfectionism. It's not beating yourself up. It's the fourth factor on the Noble Eightfold Path, and it comes with 4 missions. Prevent unwholesome mind states from arising. Abandon unwholesome states that have already arisen. Develop wholesome mind states, not yet born. Maintain wholesome states that already exist. That's it. Not superhuman. Not about meditating for 10 hours a day. It's about gentle persistence and joy. Yes, joy. Joy. In effort, the Buddha never said the path was easy, but he did say it could be beautiful, because when you see clearly, when you feel even a sliver of freedom from craving, anger, delusion, you don't want to stop. You want to go further. You want more of that. Inner space. Effort doesn't come from force, it comes from faith in the possibility of peace. The spark, where effort begins. There's a moment when the fire starts. It doesn't look dramatic. It might be a single breath that's deeper than usual, a tear during meditation, a sudden sense of, "I've wasted so much time," a vision of your parents aging, your children growing, a quiet voice that whispers, "Now, don't wait." That's the spark. And once it lights, you protect it like monks in the forest, guarding a single ember in a windy cave. You feed it, you shelter it, you return to it every day, even when you fail, especially then. The 4 enemies of effort. Soon as the fire starts, the old winds come back. They say, "You'll never change. It's too late. You're not strong enough." What's the point? These voices aren't truth. They're karmic echoes, old patterns, trying to stay alive. You don't argue with them. You see them. You bow gently, and you come back to the breath, back to now. How to build effort daily. Let's make this simple. Here are 5 tools, not theories, that keep your inner fire alive. 1. The 5-minute sit. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Sit, breathe, notice. No performance, no goals. Just 5 sacred minutes. No matter what, it builds trust. And over time, those 5 minutes become 10, then 20, then a life. Point 2. The nightly whisper before sleep. Say to yourself, "Tomorrow, I will begin again." That whisper cuts through shame. It makes tomorrow possible, even joyful. 3. The mirror practice. Each morning, look in the mirror and say, "This body will die, but today, it lives. Let me use it well, not as fear, but as fire." 4. The winner. Don't want to rule. This one's powerful. Whenever your mind says, "Not now," do just one small act of Dharma, even 5 mindful breaths, even one metta phrase for someone you dislike. It breaks the laziness loop. 5. Spiritual friendship. Find someone walking the path. Check in, share honestly. Let them remind you when you forget. You weren't meant to do this alone. Even the Buddha had friends. The fuel of the fire, remembrance. What keeps the fire burning? Memory. Memory of why you began. Memory of how it felt to sit with no anger. Memory of the first time you heard the Dharma, and something inside you said, "Yes, this is it." Keep that memory close. Return to it when you're tired. Let it warm you when life feels cold. A story. The firekeeper. Long ago, a poor farmer named Vasa kept a tiny oil lamp beside his bed. Each night he lit it and bowed before it, not to the flame, but to his intention. His wife asked, "Why do you light this every night?" He said, "To remember that I am more than appetite, more than money, more than comfort." And one night, when he was too tired to sit, he lit the lamp anyway, and for just 5 minutes, he breathed. That night, the Buddha appeared in his dream and said, "That breath burned through 10,000 lifetimes of delay. Effort is not the end, effort isn't the goal. But without it, you never reach the goal. Without it, you drift. With it, you awaken. Effort is the bridge between knowing and being, between theory and freedom. It doesn't make you worthy, it reveals that you already are." At dawn, in the cool stillness before the world wakes, if you look closely at the tips of grass or the petals of a flower, you'll see it. Delicate, luminous, temporary, a single breath of sunlight, and it's gone. The Buddha said, "This human life is like dew, rare, beautiful, and gone before you know it." In this chapter, we sit with that truth, not to feel afraid, but to finally understand, if not now, when. The odds of being born human. There's a powerful image in the suttas. The Buddha asks, imagine a wooden yoke floating in the vast ocean, tossed by waves, wind, and time. Now imagine a blind sea turtle who rises to the surface once every 100 years. What are the chances that turtle's head will pass through the hole in the yoke? That, the Buddha says, is the chance of being born as a human being. Now consider this. You were born a human. You're alive. You can hear the Dharma. You have a mind capable of understanding it. You are the turtle. You have surfaced, and the yoke is right here. Why human birth matters in Buddhism. All beings want happiness. All beings fear pain, but only humans can hear the Dharma, can reflect on suffering, can choose to awaken, can walk the path of liberation. Devas, gods, live in pleasure, too distracted. Animals live in fear, too instinctual. Ghosts live in torment, too haunted. Hell beings live in agony, too overwhelmed. Only humans walk the tightrope between pleasure and pain, between joy and grief, between birth and death. That balance makes awakening possible. How rare it really is to take a moment. Look at your hands, your breath, the mind, hearing these words. Do you realize how long it took to get here? How many billions of lifetimes you wandered, as a bird, as a fish, as a ghost, as a demon, as a starving dog in a war-torn city, as a roach crushed underfoot. How many eons you circled, without once hearing the word Dharma. And now, here you are, on a planet with teachings, in a body with a mind, in a life where truth is available. Can you feel the urgency? What we waste it on, we say. I'll practice when I'm older, when I have more money, when the kids are grown, when I'm not so busy, when I retire, when things settle down. But death doesn't wait, and samsara doesn't pause. The Buddha said, people die while still preparing to live. We spend our human life like loose change, but this is gold. This is the moment countless beings would give anything for. Don't trade it for TikTok, for gossip, for comfort, for sleep. The shock of realization. There's a moment every serious practitioner remembers. A moment when you stop being casually spiritual and you suddenly see viscerally that this life won't last. Not a BSTRACTLY. But in your gut, you realize your parents will die. Your body will break. Your name will be forgotten. Your breath, this one is not guaranteed. And in that moment, you stop postponing. You stop pretending. You begin a story. The dancer who cried there once was a royal dancer, graceful, adored, celebrated in the king's court. One day, she slipped during a performance and twisted her ankle. She hobbled to the Buddha, ashamed, broken, humiliated, and he looked at her with deep compassion and said, "The body fades, the crowds fade, the lights fade, but what you do now echoes through lifetimes." She cried, not from pain, but from relief, because for the first time, she saw what truly mattered. What death teaches us, the Buddha said. Of all meditations, the meditation on death is the most powerful, not as fear, but as a mirror. Because when you remember death, you live differently. You say what you mean. You love more fiercely. You stop wasting time. You bow to the Dharma. You don't become morbid. You become alive. How to practice with urgency. But without panic. Urgency doesn't mean rushing. It means prioritizing. Here's how to live with urgency and still smile. 1. Schedule your practice like medicine. Don't wait to feel like it. Make it non-negotiable. Like brushing your teeth, like taking your insulin. You're not meditating for comfort. You're meditating to wake. Up to reflect on death, daily not as dread, as inspiration. Before sleep, ask, if I died tonight, would I be proud of how I spent today? If not, adjust tomorrow. 3. Celebrate impermanence. When things break, when people leave, when seasons change, smile gently. Say, this is the Dharma. This is the nature of all things. It makes you softer. It makes you wiser. The final human life. For some of you, this might be your last human birth, not as punishment, not as graduation. If you walk the path fully, if you truly practice, this might be the lifetime you exit the wheel. So what will you do with it? How will you honor it? Will you let it slip? Or will you, like the Buddha, light a flame so bright it guides others across the ocean? We've walked through suffering. We've studied laziness, faced death, remembered karma, lit the fire of effort, awakened urgency. Now we arrive at the true purpose, not to escape death, but to become someone who dies with nothing left to fear. In the Buddha's words, that person is called a Sappurisa, the true person, not because they're perfect, but because they are honest, straight, unshaken. This is what all the teachings point to, not becoming something else, but becoming fully you. What is a Sappurisa? A Sappurisa is someone who thinks clearly, speaks truthfully, acts nobly, reflects deeply, practices consistently, lives with purpose, dies with peace. But this isn't a label, it's a way of being, a way of moving through the world without hiding. No masks, no pretending, no manipulation. Just truth. Straight as an arrow, soft as a prayer, sharp as a mountain wind. The opposite, a duplicitous life. The Buddha warned of the Sappurisa, the false person. This isn't someone evil, it's someone living crookedly, who says one thing, means another, who smiles with jealousy, who flatters for gain, who acts from fear, not truth, who does good only when someone is watching. The Sappurisa lives lopsided. They hide, they make decisions based on image, not integrity. And when death comes, they panic, because they know, deep down, they never really lived. The courage to be straight, to live as a Sappurisa, is to live as you are. No more apologizing for your light, shrinking for comfort, compromising your ethics, hiding behind "I'm too busy" saying yes when your heart says no. The Buddha called this karma, straight action. It doesn't mean harsh, that it means clean. You may make mistakes, but you don't lie about them. You may feel doubt, but you don't pretend certainty. You walk the path with your whole heart, not your public face, living with a straight spine. This, a forest monk, alone, cold, mosquito-bitten, hungry, and perfectly at peace. Why? Because he has nothing to hide. He isn't performing for anyone, even himself. This is freedom, the kind that no one can take, because it's rooted in truth. How to become a Sappurisa? S not a switch. It's a path. Here are 7 qualities the Buddha gave markers of the true person. 1. Faith, sad, not blind belief, but deep trust in the path. You've seen suffering. You've touched stillness. You know there's something beyond. Egon dosam virtue celie. You keep your precepts, not out of fear of punishment, but out of love for life. You refuse to harm. You don't take what's not offered. You speak with care, and your conscience becomes quiet. 3. Learning sutta. You don't stop growing. You listen. You ask. You study the Dharma like your life depends on it, because it does. For generosity, kaga, you give. Not just money, but time, forgiveness, presence. And each gift frees you from greed. 5. Wisdom. Panbi. You see cause and effect. You stop blaming. You start inquiring. And little by little, the fog of delusion lifts. 6. Modesty. Hiri. You don't hide, but you're not arrogant either. You know your weaknesses. You bow to your teachers. You walk humbly, not because you're small, but because the path is big. 7. Fear of wrongdoing. A tapper. Not fear of punishment, but fear of wasting this life. You don't want to die with music still inside you, with apologies unspoken, with wisdom unopened. Dying as a Sappurisa. Buddha said, a noble person dies like a log that floats straight down the river, not caught on this side, not caught on that, but flowing smoothly to the ocean. No guilt, no hiding, just stillness, just peace. A story. The farmer and the monk. There was once a farmer who came to a monk in tears. My crops failed. My wife left. I'm sick. I'm scared of dying, he said. The monk looked at him kindly and said, I can't help you with those problems. The farmer was stunned. but I thought you were wise." The monk smiled. "I can't fix your life, but I can help you live in such a way that none of it can break you." That's what the Sappurisa knows. Not how to avoid suffering, but how to meet it with clarity. Your legacy is not what you think. The world will forget your resume, your trophies, your followers, your degrees, but it will remember how you made people feel. It will remember that you spoke the truth, that you loved without clinging, that you served without ego, that you walked through life with a straight back and a soft heart. And that is enough. The final word, the Buddha's last words were, "All conditioned things are impermanent. Strive on with diligence." He didn't say panic. He didn't say be perfect. He said, keep going, stay honest, don't delay, be real, and finish what you started. That's the path of the true person, the Sappurisa. And now, it's yours. Thank you for walking this journey. If these teachings touched you, if they reminded you of who you truly are, then live them. Don't wait for death to become real. Let it wake you up, and may you walk straight, speak straight, live straight, until you are no longer born, until the wheel finally stops, until there is only peace, only stillness, only nibbness.